Welcome back. Now we're joined by Mr. Chuck Berg here. He's the director of the NSU Physical Plant. He's going to tell us all about that new building and bring us through a timeline of that new building.
Well, the project itself started well over 8 years ago through the process of trying to acquire all the funding for it. It is a joint project with the Student Services Center and East Casper Hall. The total project was $12.1 million. We're winding down the first phase right now, which is a Student Services Center. We spent about $6.1 million on that building. It's 32,000 square foot facility. It's going to have the admissions office on the second floor, as well as financial aid. It'll have recruiting and new student programs on the first floor, and then the registrar's office and the bursar's office, student accounting, will be on the third floor. And also the Dean of Students is going to be in the building as well on the second floor. It's a fascinating building. We're excited about it. We're anticipated move-in starting on Monday on June the 18th. So we've got a schedule where we're going to move in recruiting and new student programs first. They were already started packing their offices and getting ready to go, kind of a little antsy. Wanted to jump in there last week, but we had to slow them down a little bit. But we're going to move full steam ahead on Monday the 18th, and then we'll move the others into session after that.
I'm sure a lot of our faculty and staff were willing to put on hard hats and get this thing completed. They're so excited to move into that new building, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a fascinating building. I've brought the boss in several times from the beginning stages, and it almost looked like a train wreck at one time, but you know, it's going to be something we're going to be really proud of.
That's great. Now, building a new building on such a historic campus can sometimes be an issue because of the modern day features versus, old architecture. Was that an issue at all?
Well, we try to stay with what we call the normal architecture that mimics the old buildings from the 1930s and even beyond that, when Caldwell Hall, where the administration building used to be, on Normal Hill. Somehow we got away from that in the 50s and 60s, and the state built things that, for a lack of a better word, looked like a fire station building. So we decided to bring the old architecture back, and it kind of enhances the character of what our campus used to look like. So we're renovating the second phase right now of East Casper, which we're actually adding a third floor to it. So we're going to increase the building from an 11,000 square foot facility to 15,000 square feet. And we're going to remain at old charm in architecture, so it'll actually complement each other, the Student Services and Casper Hall, which is going to go back to its original name for Casper.
Okay. Now, we've heard all about the new different services that are going to be offered in the building right now that's about to open up, but what kind of services will be offered in East Casper?
The East Casper building is basically a continuation of those same services. Originally, they wanted to include these services in the one building, but there wasn't enough room to accommodate it all. We're going to have the graduate school in that building, planning, EEO, and assessment, the internal auditor's office. The vice president and provost office will be there as well, and Dr. Webb's office will be there as well. So he'll be close to the students. Dr.
Webb, are you excited about that move?
I really am, because it just harkens back to the days on college campuses when, I guess some people may recall, on their campus a building might have been called Old Main, because that was the main building on the campus, and usually it housed administrative offices and particularly student services offices. And I just think, knowing the fact that the provost is also the vice president for academic and student affairs both, then that person is over all of these services directly that we're talking about, including the graduate dean's office. And having her in proximity to those offices and her staff, and having the office of the president in proximity, just ensures that communication's enhanced quite easily, and that's so important. But also, that when you have student services offices in proximity to executive level offices, you can almost rest assured that students and parents are going to get outstanding service. And that's all we're interested in, and in supporting our very fine, strong staff.
And it's really exciting to have an awesome view of our Demon football field as well. I'm excited to see that view when it's completed. What kind of unique features are there to the new building?
Well, the new building is, if you walk into it, you'll look, there's fine finishes in the building. We used a lot of red oak in the building, which I don't know if you've been to Family Consumer Science and Morrison Hall. When those buildings were renovated in 2001, we did the same type of thing in that building. And a lot of the educational facilities back in the early days were made with these fine furnishings. A lot of the woodwork you're going to see in the building. It's just, I haven't seen anything like this anywhere else. So you go to UL Lafayette, you go to Nichols, and they don't have a building this nice.
There's also some interesting tile work as well, is that correct?
Well, the front foyer, as you walk in, it's terrazzo flooring, which will be a lifetime. And we've got the university seal right there in the front as you walk in. Casper Hall will have that as well. So we're branding the building, so to speak.
That's wonderful. So when students walk into this building, maybe their first time to set foot on campus, and they know exactly where they are. And that's what this building is about. It's for first-time students, correct?
And enroll students and their parents. And you make a real good point there, because we talk about what a beautiful campus we have. Our alumni feel that way. And we're indebted to Marcus Jones, and Chuck, and other of our excellent staff in the physical plant and grounds operation for making it just that. But this building and then the accompanying building, Casper, are going to make it more beautiful. And while they do, it has the added benefit that they're going to make it much more functional. And I think that's important. And in a moment, if you'd like, I'll talk to you a little bit about what one might call the central vision, because we'll be looking very closely at the center of the campus.
Okay, go ahead. Tell me about the center vision. Go ahead.
Well, this is kind of a domino effect here. If you think about it, when you take into consideration the offices that are relocating to the new Student Services Center and those that will be moving into Casper once it's finished, I guess in another year or something like that, then that means we're going to have people actually moving from buildings like South Hall. Most everybody will be moving out of South Hall at that point in time. A large number of people will be moving out of Roy Hall. A few will be moving out of St. Denis. And of course, my office would be moving out of the Creative and Performing Arts Complex, not very far away from it, by the way. So then this creates opportunities for us, and it's all part of the plan. Our Office of Electronic and Continuing Education, for example, right now is housed under very difficult and trying conditions on the north end of the first floor of Dodd Hall. All the other floors are condemned for use. We can't use them. So we've had this extremely important activity that's in a building that's not at all appropriate for its needs. And on the other hand, you've got over in Roy Hall, you've got the information technology professionals, the computing center people, which comes under that same vice president. So our plan within a year to 18 months is to relocate that operation from Dodd into Roy Hall, make modifications to Roy, to put Dr. Williams, the vice president, with information technology as well, and probably to move the Office of Research and Sponsored Programs over there, which is under her, which would take all of these offices, Roy Hall, not to mention the RAC, what a wonderful place, you know, for people to congregate, then Casper, then the Student Services Center, and all of these are offices that have to interact frequently, and consequently it just puts us in a much better posture to do that And then we've got other ideas for the center of the campus that we can explore later, but we'll just have to see about the possibilities there and what is feasible and what may not be.
Wonderful. Now, during these tight budget times and all these different budget cuts we've had to our university, I'm sure a lot of people have forgotten of the grant for the funding for this new building. Can you remind us how that came about?
Well, the funding for this project comes from the state capital outlay, where they actually sell bonds to pay off the debt service for it. So, like I said, it was an 8-year process when we started asking for the funding, and then it's got to go through the legislative sessions, and usually it takes several years where it moves through the several levels of priority 5 through priority 1 before you actually get the money. Then you have a year of planning where you meet with the architect, and he usually has almost a year to try to develop a program, design, get it approved by the state, and then you get the bid process. So I've been the director of physical plant for 5 years now, and my entire 5 years has moved to this point where we were involved in the planning process and involved in the bidding process, and then of course the awarding of the contract, and now the administrative of it. It was 18-month project to actually do the construction for the Student Services Center. Caspery building will be about a year. So it's just a very long and tedious time, and people forget that the money was already appropriated a long time ago, and we can't do anything else with that money but build this facility. So it can't go to paying anybody's salary, it can't go to offsetting any budget cuts. It's just the unfortunate thing, that's the way we have to do it.
Yeah. Now, these are really exciting times. We've seen some wonderful renovations and new constructions. Can we look forward to anything in the future?
Oh, there's a lot of things that I told Dr. Webb when he hired me. I said, we're going to transform the campus. So I think we've made some good strides in trying to redo some streets on campus. We've got some planning on where we're going to try to do some more cosmetic things, redo some more roads. We're in the process of replacing our steam line system. All that old steam goes away. We're going to a new hot water system where and the buildings will be heated much more efficiently. Some of them will have independent boilers in those buildings. So we've been able to do some mechanical things with the buildings as well. You don't really see that, but it'll make it more comfortable in the classrooms and in the working environment.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. We really do appreciate it. Again, thank you again, Chuck Berg, for being here. And thank you, Dr. Webb. As always, it's a pleasure to have you. That's it for Northwestern State, where great things happen. Thanks for joining us.